The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hey everybody, this is Bradley Benner with Donald Van Fossen and Brian Prins of Lead Gadget and the ATM, and we want to welcome you all to this ATM launch webinar. Today is July 16th, and we've got a lot to cover today with all the updates that have been in progress for many weeks. We've all been anticipating this, and we're glad everybody's here. We're actually going to be allowing people to get in now, and then the updates people will be able to log in today at 4 p.m. So we've got some presentation slides we're going to go through, and hey, Brian and Don, why don't you guys say hi?
How you doing there, Brad? How's everything going? This is Brian Prince, and I'd like to say hello on behalf of myself and everybody else. Go on, Don.
Hey, what's happening, guys? Don here. I know a lot of people are probably off my list, or they're already in the ATM right now, along with some new people. So we just want to go through. I know a lot of people aren't going to know what the ATM is all about, so we're going to go through the slides and talk about it, what it does, why it does it, how it works, and then we'll also do a quick run through of the ATM so that I can show you that basically the ATM is a web application for building sites and for driving a lot of traffic so that you can convert different things. You can use it for lead generation, you can use it for CPA income, affiliate income, all kinds of things.
Yeah, and it's quite a robust application. So, and I'm sure everybody's very looking forward to seeing the updates.
Yeah,
it's been making a lot of people a lot of money for a long time now, and thank goodness. Some people are saying now, I'm looking out there and they're saying, thank goodness that the ATM has got these massive updates. You know, all the top secret stuff that we've been doing, Don, you know, people have been really wanting to get, you know, sneak peeks and all the rest of this stuff. And, you know, they don't understand that it's only code until you make it render and beautification. So go ahead.
Well, when we're basically saying top secret here is because there was nobody allowed in this originally when we started the ATM. For people that are new to this, that haven't ever heard of it before, one of the reasons you never heard of it is because there was only 6 people in it at the beginning. We didn't allow anybody else in it, and then eventually we opened it, took 50 people in. Eventually we took in about 50 more. We had about 100 people in there, and then we stopped because there's a lot of different things that had to be done. We wanted to build it. We wanted to scale it properly. And, you know, we run into some issues along the way, just like any other kind of crazy application that you make like this, because it's a super advanced application with a lot of things that happen in the back end that a lot of people don't realize. And it's taken a lot of time and a lot of work, a lot of effort, a lot of blood, sweat, tears. A lot of the people that are in this right now know some of the crazy amounts of hours we spend working on this. But it's definitely one of the baddest applications you'll ever see, definitely the baddest as far as what it does.
Very cool.
Now I just want, basically I just want people to clear their mind, forget everything you think you know about SEO, because when you look at this, a lot of times people have a habit of where they hear different things, so their brains get contaminated and they never try to actually do anything because of something they read on a forum or somewhere else. The
backlinks, Don?
Yeah.
You mean they got to think about backlinks and they got to think about working on one site all day?
Yeah.
That's all they ever think about.
Things like things just like that, working on one site all day long, where you're you're never really getting anywhere because you're working on one site for 6 months thinking that you're going to retire off of it. It doesn't work that way. And there, people that are worried about duplicate content, all these crazy things that you hear all the time, you need to just forget about those because they are meaningless.
It's very silly. I love it.
One of the things that we do with it, there's a lot of things you can do with the ATM, but I think one of the best things that we've ever done is what we call traffic funnels, because we'll build tons of these ATM sites in different verticals. And let's say we build 20 sites in one specific vertical. We'll drive all that traffic to one conversion page. And what we mean by that is we might have one site set up somewhere that we know works really well. People will put in their email address or people will buy products from it. It looks really pretty, but it might be a one-page thing where it won't rank in Google or any of the search engines. So that's when you have something like that, a lot of times you think of something like paid traffic because you start wanting to drive traffic to that single page, that one conversion point. But with the ATM, you're building sites that produce organic traffic, which are actually people sitting in this and going in the search engine, searching for something specific, seeing your site come up in the search index, and then clicking on it and going there. So we all know organic traffic actually converts much better. So with the ATM, we often do a lot of things like traffic funnels where we drive all that traffic to one specific conversion page using something called WP Overlayer. And the overlayer is just something where we can show another site on top of an ATM site. I don't know if you guys want to touch on
A
it.
sales page.
Yeah, a sales page.
Yeah, a sales page, Don. Right. Things that Google will never rank, guys. When you look at images, we turn around and we put up there lots and lots of landing pages that Google will never, ever, ever, ever rank. Why? Because it's not content friendly. So we use the content, put overlay on.
Kind of lost your audio.
Yeah, we're losing Brian, but basically.
Sorry, guys, my internet connection's junk.
Yeah, he's not actually at the office. Go ahead, Bradley.
Think about using these sites also for driving traffic to squeeze pages because squeeze pages. Remember, like if you're trying to, even if you're using paid traffic for a squeeze page or an opt-in page, you have to meet, especially if you're using Google AdWords, you have to meet certain compliance levels. And we don't have to worry about that when we use these sites. So we can set up just a squeeze page with a video and an opt-in form or whatever. That's a great way to generate leads for, to build an email list or for whatever else it is that you need, because you can use the WP Overlayer plugin to basically lay that squeeze page on top of all of the posts that pages and posts that these sites can create, so that when the visitor lands on the page, all they see is the squeeze page. They don't see the page underneath of it. It's very, very cool, and you don't have to worry about compliance issues. And it's a great way to drive traffic into a funnel.
Yeah, and that's, like I said, that's one of the number one ways we use it. But people have been very creative. We use it for AdSense sites. We use it for CPA sites. We use it for Amazon sites. And some of the people that are currently in there right now, they use it, and they've been doing incredible with things like Amazon. I don't know, Bradley, you want to touch on it the way they were setting things up with like that plug-in and everything?
Yeah, well, as far as I know, I haven't done any Amazon stuff myself. So all I know is from, chatting with and hearing from within the Facebook group how some people are using it to actually have, Amazon products on their pages. And then if somebody, like there's a plugin called WP Zero Bounce that is really, really cool that you can use to when somebody lands on a page and they go to click the back button, which would be considered a bounce, it will actually redirect them to the page of your choice. And so if you use the WP Zero Bounce, you don't even have to have Amazon products on the pages that they land on. The point is that you can have it's a little bit dirty, but you can click the back button, set up an Amazon page or redirect them to an Amazon page when they click the back button. So if they are bouncing to go back to the search engines, now it's going to put them on Amazon and cookie them. So that if they end up buying any product from Amazon for however, don't do much Amazon stuff, but that cookie has a lifetime, a lifespan, right? And so if anybody ends up buying any products after that, during that time, then they can get the commission from the Amazon cookie. So it's really cool. Like some people are creating these these perpetual loops where people get, stuck into the funnel, and if they end up purchasing, you get credit for it. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think what they were doing a lot of times was they were
that's what you're supposed to do.
A specific was based on
Yeah, that's what you're supposed. Sorry, Don, but go ahead.
It's I think there's a delay between you talking and me talking because Brian's on the phone app, the GoToWebinar phone app right now because he's out of town. So I think there's a big delay sometimes, so we're probably butting heads. So bear with us, guys. I was basically going to say that. I was just basically going to say that a lot of people were building information-based sites on the ATM, in a specific vertical. They might have been talking about some kind of power equipment like power tools or something, and then there might have been AdSense ads on it. And then when somebody would go to leave that site because they didn't see what they wanted, they would end up on a page with a bunch of Amazon products for power tools and stuff, and people were killing it that way. And there's all kinds of ways that you can do and you can monetize these types of sites. I mean, as long as you're getting organic traffic to it, like we said, You can do affiliate products, promote your own products, do whatever you want. The biggest problem that a lot of people have is being able to build sites that are huge sites that bring in organic traffic, and that's exactly what this does.
Yeah.
And here's the thing here is a lot of times people, when they're thinking of old style SEO, like the way we always talk about trying to, like what we had just mentioned a little bit ago about people basically falling in love with a site and working on it for months and months on end, and that site doesn't rank, all of a sudden they've wasted 6 months. They're pretty sore at the fact that they wasted all their time and never got anything out of it. Where we don't work like that. We build tons and tons of sites because the ATM allows us to do that very quickly. And sometimes those sites will last for, 3 weeks, 3 months, 3 years. It doesn't matter to us because of the fact that the ATM allows us to get a lot of traffic from the sites that it builds, and it also allows us to queue them up and build more sites in that specific vertical. See, a lot of people will target something like a specific product or something that they're trying to promote. They'll do fairly well in it and get some hits and get some sales, but what they do is they continue to work on that same site instead of letting that site sit there and then building a bunch of other sites for the same exact types of products and putting those sites out there quickly so that you can multiply the fact that you can have multiple search result pages. You can have one search page in Google. Brian's done this many times with the ATM, where you can have one search page in Google that's basically all 10 spots are your sites.
Yeah. It's like throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks, and that's the idea that one of the hardest things to wrap your head around if you've done traditional SEO or traditional site building is that with these sites you just crank out more sites because some are going to stick and some aren't, and it's not, you don't want to spend a lot of time trying to analyze, well, why isn't this one site performing and what can I do to make it perform better? Instead, that time should be spent just producing more sites targeting the same set of keywords because, again, some are going to be successful and drive a lot of traffic and some aren't going to be so successful, but don't waste time, just keep building.
Right, exactly. And that's what a lot of people get caught in when they start trying to produce income online or make money online in any way, shape, or form. They get caught into that, I don't know, it's like a hamster in a wheel. They keep running in a circle over and over again on the same different sites that they're working on. Yes, of course, when you're trying to build an authority site, let's say you were building a site for a company somewhere that had hired you to build their website, that's something that's going to take time. You're going to build that slowly. You're going to try to make that into, like I just said, an authority site on whatever specific types of products or services that company has to offer. But that's not what we do with the ATM sites. We're just trying to make sure that we get out there and we're ranking and we're pulling in traffic and we're pulling in sales and we're making money. So again, no more old style site building. This is 2015 and we have reinvented the game. A lot of times Brian likes to say this all the time as well. So many people say that their product is a game changer. It's the newest thing. It's the best thing you've ever seen. We don't care about being a game changer. We've actually just reinvented the game and said, this is how you do it. So again, we've reinvented the game. So, here's some of the highlights. Like, for instance, like all the sites that you build, as far as the WordPress sites, when they get deployed, they all have the BLI backlinks indexer plugin in them. And what that does, it actually automatically builds backlinks for your site. You don't actually have to worry about backlinks with these sites because they will get indexed and they will rank without one backlink whatsoever. But the thing with BLI is we've noticed that it helps solidify those rankings once you get them, because sometimes you might build a site, you're ranking on page 1 for a few months, and then all of a sudden the site dies. Like we had said before, we consider the sites basically like a disposable Bic lighter. If one of them dies, we don't really care because we'll build another one. But the one thing that we've noticed with the backlink indexer plugin is that it actually turns around and helps a lot of these sites. It solidifies their rankings and allows them to rank where they're at for much longer. Bradley right here, I know he's on here and he's the one that does the training all the time. He does the training weekly, live webinars that you can ask questions to, find out all kinds of information. I don't know if you want to touch on that some, Bradley.
Yeah, sure. We do live weekly webinars on Thursdays. They alternate. One Thursday it'll be at 7:30 a.m. Eastern, so Eastern Daylight Time right now, and then the following Thursday it'll be in the evening. So we alternate at 12 hours. So each week it's either morning or afternoon or evening, I should say. And the reason we do that is to accommodate our global, user base, so that it makes it fair. But they're basically Q&A webinars as well as case studies, and I'm conducting some case studies and have several of them planned actually for the launch of the new updates for how to build out local sites using the ATM. And so that's something that I do. Not only do we do the weekly training, which is like the Q&A webinars, and also where I'll share new stuff that I've discovered and that sort of thing, but I also create a lot of training videos for specific types of site builds. And we'll be doing many of those going forward as the new ATM launches.
So we got that training for you that's live every week, so that you can ask questions, get those answered. We have a support system, ticket system that you can go into 24 hours a day, ask questions, and we'll answer them. We have a video support library, but the video support library is actually going to get overhauled because a lot of it has changed because of this new update that we just put out. But a lot of those videos are going to be done today, and we're going to be putting those out. We give you the ability to rinse and repeat with simplicity, which is exactly what we're talking about. When you're building these sites, you're able to build a bunch of sites, find the parts that are giving you find the sites that are really doing well and giving you success, and you're able to rinse and repeat and scale that at an incredible rate.
Yeah.
So right now I'm going to go inside the ATM just so people know what we're talking about, because I know a lot of people that are on here have no idea what the heck we're even talking about as far as the ATM goes. So I'm going to actually minimize this for 1 second and bring people into the ATM, which do you see that on there, Bradley?
Yes.
Okay. So right now the system is actually shut down, but I've got a back way into it so that I can get into it, because we're going to bring it back up after all these updates. We're doing the updates for the past 2 days, and at 4 p.m., approximately 4 p.m., it's going to come back online so that everybody can log back in that are already users, and for any of you guys out there that decide to sign up and become users. But what the web application does is pretty simple. It allows you to manage every aspect of building these sites and actually build and deploy those sites all in one control panel. So we'll take a look here, like for instance, the different menu options here. I'm actually going to start over here first, because what I want you to see is one of the things with the ATM, and we had done things where we'd allowed people to use their own hosting with cPanel hosts, shared hosting, and then we did dedicated servers. Then we did a hosting. We did a bunch of hosting where we were doing like a hybrid of not really shared and not really dedicated. It was kind of a hybrid. But these sites are actually big and they take up a lot of resources. And what we've done now is actually make it so that everybody's sites that are on all the same servers no longer have to compete with one another, because now everybody's able to go out and get their own hosting server or instance on EC2 or VPS, which is a virtual private server. Anything that they want to do, as long as they set it up the way that, as long as you get it set up the way that we tell you. And there's a video that will be ready to go here at 4 o'clock that also shows you how to do this with Amazon instances. I know this can probably sound confusing, and a lot of people are probably scared when they hear you're going to set up a server. You're not going to set up a server. It's basically a few clicks and it does it for you inside of Amazon. If you don't want to use Amazon's EC2 instances, then you're able to go out and get a VPS anywhere you want. The only thing that you have to remember is you have to make sure that it's Ubuntu, which is a version of Linux, and it's Ubuntu 4.04 64-bit. And the video will explain how to do that. There's nothing to it. It is not hard to do, because the ATM does everything for you other than setting up that instance. And we're going to actually add that ability in later, where it'll provision the EC2 instances for you and bring them up. But as of right now, when you come into the ATM, you have no server or anything. You just brought up a server, or you've got an EC2 instance. Is that somebody talking?
Might have been Brian.
No. I don't know what that, it was cutting out or whatever it was. Are you trying to say something, Brian?
I think we've lost him. I think he was trying to say something, but I think we've lost
throw that phone app away. Basically, you're going to add the server in here, and that's just, you're going to add the server details. Like, for instance, give it a server name, like that, whatever kind of name, whatever you want to call it. Wow.
Might have to mute Brian.
Yeah, we might have to. Anyway, let's go. Continue here. The server name basically is whatever you want to call the server, so that you know you have a special name for that server that's just for you, so you know what it is when you're looking at it in the list of servers that you may have later on. You put your IP address in every server that you get. Even if it's an instance, which an EC2 instance is basically like a VPS that you would get somewhere else, except for it's handled by Amazon. A VPS is just like a virtual private server, like I said, which is a hosting company will take one big server and they'll split it up and divide it up into pieces, you might as well say, and give everybody a virtual private server. They'll give you an IP address for that, and all you do is enter that IP address in here. You enter a username and password if you have a username and password for the server. If you do not have a username and password for the server, you just have a username. Like with an Amazon EC2 instance, you're going to have something called a key and a username. Then that's the only thing you need to have entered in here. And then you'll click Add Server, and what happens is the ATM will go out and it'll install the database server, it'll install the web server, it'll install PHP, everything on that server automatically. The ATM will install all of that for you. So you don't have to know anything. And then after that process is actually done, then you'll see your servers in the list. And I've got a bunch of junk test ones in here because this is a test account. And they're all the same one, and this is just for testing the account itself, like I was saying. But you'll see your servers listed in here. So when you go to add a site later on, let's say, for instance, you buy a domain or whatever at Namecheap and you want to put up a site, all you have to do is go to Add New Domain, enter the domain name in here, pick the server, which again you're going to see they're all the same on here, but enter the server that you want that site to go on. Enter the username and password that you're going to use for logging into the blog. Click Add Domain, and what it will do is it will go out, add the domain to the server, create an account for the domain, add the domain to the server, all this complicated stuff that you don't have to worry about because the ATM is doing it for you. It also sets up what's called Cloudflare, and Cloudflare, it sets up the account for you as far as the records for that domain. And a lot of times this stuff isn't going to make any sense, but basically Cloudflare is one of the ways that we get past past having to have multiple IPs to host our domains. Cloudflare allows us to set up name servers there that will allow, when Google looks at the site, when it looks at the domain or it visits the website, all it sees is Cloudflare's IP address. It doesn't see the server's IP address, so it allows you to host multiple sites on the same IP address and never have to worry about that multiple SEO IP hosting that you used to worry about back in the day. And for those that it doesn't make any sense to, don't worry. It does, like I said, the ATM does it for you because the Cloudflare account you need, but when you go to Cloudflare accounts, you'll see that I have a Cloudflare account listed in here, but the ATM, if you add an email address and a password in here and create the Cloudflare account, the system sets it up for you. You don't have to go to cloudflare.com and do anything. You also don't have to go to Cloudflare for anything, like I said, when you add a domain, because it will automatically create everything that you need for that domain to be live.
Right.
I don't know if you have anything you want to touch on, Bradley, or...
No, that's just that this is one of the updates that has been included that Don's been working on, because in the past we've had to actually go in and configure all that stuff manually. And it's not that it was very difficult, but that's where mistakes were often made. Could be just typo errors or anything like that that would cause issues and cause a ton of support issues. And all that now is going to be taken care of by the ATM, which really makes it, dumb simple.
Yeah.
So you can't, it eliminates the possibility of error, and so it's pretty much dummy proof, in other words.
Yeah, because before, when we did this and the other version of the ATM, you actually had to go sign up at Cloudflare, create a Cloudflare account. Every time you bought a domain at your registrar, like Namecheap, GoDaddy, or wherever, you had to log back into Cloudflare and then set up a bunch of DNS records, which was a little complicated, but you had to set them all up in Cloudflare as well. And then you had to come back into the ATM, and I'm going to go ahead and show a site here from if I edit this site. Then you had to come back into the ATM and fill out all this information as well and make sure that it was accurate. You didn't have a white space anywhere. You didn't have a funny character, because some people were cutting and pasting from things like Excel, and there would be funny characters left in that you couldn't see, and it would cause problems when they went to deploy a site. So now the ATM sets that all up for you. All this information that you see here, the ATM does that, and automatically configures it so that your server can host that site correctly. But so that's some of the major stuff that it does as far as making things easier. Let's take a look at, like, as far as what we were talking about with the sites. You've basically got your site listing. When you go to all sites, you go there and it'll show the domains that you have in the server. Now, since it's a test account, there's only one domain in here right now. If you wanted to edit the information for this server, you could. Let's say if something changed and you had to go in and manually edit it, you can. If you deploy the site, because remember, the ATM actually builds the WordPress site for you and deploys it to your hosting account so that it's already live. But if you screw up and you mess up something, like, let's say, for instance, you did some things that showed up in the content that you didn't want in the content, but you had already deployed the site, then you have the bomb button, and what the bomb button does, it goes out and it totally deletes everything that has to do with that site, and allows you to redeploy it through the ATM again. If you no longer want the site in the ATM, you've gotten rid of it, expired, you're not worried about it, maybe it was a loser that didn't make any money, you can hit delete. If you want to check on the status of the site, let's say how much, how many pages are indexed in Google, we've got the button right here, so it's easy for you to check, and it'll take you to Google and let you see how many pages are indexed. Now, the site that's coming up here, and I'm in a virtual Windows machine, guys, so things are a little slow. This site actually has 27,400 pages indexed, and that's actually a low count to what you'll see a lot of times. Many times you'll see it'll have 150,000 pages indexed. Because of the tags, too. Yeah. And this was just a test site, demo site, so I didn't really do a lot with it. We did the add domain. The show sites that are deployed and not deployed, when you deploy a site, if you click on all sites, it's going to show up. And what that means is if you've deployed the site and it's out there and it's already live on the hosting account, then that site is considered deployed. So a lot of times you might not want to look at the all sites, especially if you have a couple hundred sites in here. You're going to want to go to, like, sites not deployed. I don't have any in here that aren't deployed because I only have one site in this account. But if you wanted to check sites that weren't deployed, ones that you needed to deploy and make them live, get them built and out there, then you would select that. If you wanted to select the ones that were already deployed, you just click that. And that shows this one again because that site's deployed. You saw that when we checked the index, that site's out there and live. Content, basically a similar type menu. You look at all the different content, like whatever you add in here. I have data that goes back 3 years in here because this application has went through many evolutions over the course of time. Been working on this stuff on the way that this thing builds sites. We've been working on this for like 5 years, so it has a lot of testing and a lot of work behind it. But what you'll find a lot of times, and here's one of the things that people get screwed up with, and I was just talking about this with duplicate content. A lot of people have a misunderstanding out there of how Google's ranking content now. Google can rank basically the same content over and over again on different sites on the first page of Google. It does it all the time. It does it for us constantly. A lot of people think if I use a piece of content, I can never use it again for anything else. That's wrong. Say, for instance, if I have a website out there and it's doing really well, and I buy another domain in the same vertical, that content for that actual site that was ranking really well, I might want to go in here and recycle that content. And what that means is it's going to create a copy of the content that you used on that other site, and you'll see where it says copy of, and you can save that, tell it to recycle that content, and now it will be in your list of content here so that you can actually edit it and change it up a little bit, do some minor tweaking to it, and then deploy it on another domain. And then the next thing you know, you've got another search engine spot taken up, another position taken up in the search engine result pages for a different domain than your original one that you used that content from. So now this is where we're talking about how you can often take over 5, 6, 7, 10 spots on Google. I don't know if you want to touch on anything, Bradley?
No, I mean, that's the point is, build the sites in batches. So like once you've determined which kind of keywords you want to go after, and I suggest that and we talk about this in the training, but once you get, collect a handful of keywords that you want to go after and variations thereof, and then you set up the first site. The hardest part is setting up the first site for any, new build, new set or new batch. When you're batching sites, it's the first one that takes the most time to set up, which even that doesn't take a lot of time. But once that first site is built, then you can just basically duplicate or clone, recycle the content into new site builds where you just make some slight changes like the SEO title or the content title, which is the pretty much the main keyword that you want to rank for those pages. And it's very, very quick and easy to be able to swap that out. In a matter of minutes, you can deploy new sites. So if you batch out, 8, 10, 12 sites at a time, then you can end up dominating for, even if only 30 or 40% of those sites are successful, now you're looking at, 3, 4, 5 spots on page one for keywords that you targeted, and you did it all very, very quickly. I mean, you can essentially pump out 8 sites in an hour after that first one's built. And that's if you're being slow about it.
Yeah, that's if you're being slow, definitely.
Yeah.
Because the ATM, basically what the ATM does is it queues the sites once you tell it to deploy, and I'll talk about that here in a second. It'll make more sense. I'm jumping ahead a little bit. The show content deployed, show content not deployed sections here, that's the same as the sites. If the content's been used already, then it'll show up as under deployed. If it's not been used, it'll show up as not deployed. When you want to add new content, you can add that here. And basically, it's pretty self-explanatory. I mean, you got the article title, which is basically going to be the title of all the different posts on your site. A lot of times we'll add like different types of spin tags or something in there. It's probably much easier if we take a look at another piece of content. So let's go in here or not. Actually, I didn't want to do that. I wanted to recycle this one and take a look at it. Here you see one that I have a bunch of spin tags in. Typically, we don't do this. I picked the wrong one here. Typically, we'll take like one paragraph and we'll have it in spin tags. And if spin tags doesn't make any sense to you, don't worry. We talk about that in the training as well. But as you can see here, I'm going to take the copy of out here. This was basically pharmacy technician, and here's some spin tags here, courses and schools, city, full state. Every one of your titles, you want them to be unique. So we have something called lists, custom lists, and those lists determine how big your site's going to be, how many posts are going to be on your site, how many pages that site's going to have. And that's what these shortcodes do. And they also make sure that the title is always unique. You never have the same exact title for any of your content. Same thing with the meta description. The meta description is the thing that you see in the search results. When we look up anything in Google and you see the search result listings, the text that is underneath the link is typically the meta description. The tags are basically proprietary to the way WordPress works. It tags different content with different keywords. that represent what that content means. So you'll set up a bunch of tags in here, which would be keyword based, different keywords that revolve around that vertical or niche or product or whatever it is that you're promoting. You'll build a list of keywords that are based on that and add those to the tags. Category, you can put something in here, different text that has to do with, like I could put pharmacy technician and then leave full state at the end. And what that would do with the way that this one is set up is all your content would go and be posted in a different categories. So in this case, I have full state. So it'd be like Alabama, Arkansas, and all that stuff, New York. Every one of those would be those states would be made into categories, and it would post the content for each one of these posts into the correct category that belong to that state. Hopefully that makes sense. Sometimes explaining this is makes it sound more complicated than it is.
Yeah.
And then the contents down here, we have S3 enabled in here. So Amazon has a service called S3. It's definitely, we recommend you use it because that's what we use to put images in our content. It's typically I don't have an Amazon key in this account right now, in this demo account, but what you would do is click Browse Server, and it would go through your Amazon S3 account, and any of the images that you have uploaded would be there available for you no matter what build, no matter what content you're making. Every time you're making the content, all your images are always there at hand so that you can use them. It also prevents the site from loading images slow because S3 is what's called a content delivery network, and the S3 will host the images for you, and it'll also not use your server won't have to deal with loading those images. They'll be loaded from super fast servers over at Amazon.
Yeah.
If I click on images here, you also see that you can upload files too. So it'll upload directly to S3. Custom lists. This is what I was talking about with lists. When I was saying we were doing stuff, a lot of the stuff that we do is by geographic location. So I'll do a lot of things that are city-state. So I have city-state in the title, city-state in the content, so that I can really drill home that local, grabbing those local search terms that people type in all the time. With the list, you basically give it a list name, and then down here you put in one entry for every keyword or every city and state that you have. For instance, this might be my state one. This might be my state list, and I'll hit add list. But let me take a look at the, well, actually, we'll leave this like this for right now. Basically, you're just making a list. Like, for instance, I'll have one that might be states, one that might be cities, one that might be zip codes, one that might be state abbreviations. After I make all those lists, I can go to the pack list, and what this does is allows you to take all of your lists and combine them to use in your builds. Now, I'm not going to go through this a lot because actually if I try to go through this versus what it says in our videos and our training videos, I'm probably going to confuse the heck out of people.
Yeah.
But because it is a very confusing thing to look at, but it's a very simple thing to use once you use it like once.
Yeah.
But basically,
it's not difficult once you figure out how to use it, which it just takes setting it up once or twice on your own. And we have training videos for it. But once you set it up once or twice on your own, you'll really get it. After building the first site or two, you'll say, oh, you know what, this clicks. I understand it now.
Yeah, that's basically what it takes is for it to click. But just know that this basically determines the different types of keywords that'll be in your keywords, or like I said, geographic locations or whatever will be in your content, your titles and all that. And it'll also determine like your categories, etc. Short codes. These are just different things that you want to use over and over again inside of builds. So a short code, like for instance, we see acting 1 here. If I put that inside the content in the editor when I was making my content, then whatever's in here would add, well, this is only going to show you this actually shows a excerpt. So it doesn't show the whole thing in the list because it'll load too slow. when it shows you the list. But this stuff would end up going into your site. So whatever it is you have here that you wanted, like some people will have like spin tacks in here where they can rotate a bunch of videos or a bunch of images or something like that. That's something that you're going to reuse over and over again for a lot of sites that are in the same vertical. You can make a shortcode for it. And add a new shortcode is really simple. Same kind of syntax. You put whatever in here and then type in your shortcode content and then click add shortcode. When you're let's take a look here. When you're adding content, and down here at the bottom, after you have your sites, your domains added to the system, they're going to show up down here where it says select site. Whenever you're adding your content, when you select the site that it goes to, it's automatically mated to that content. The site and the content itself are joined together, and then it'll show up in here, which is deploy sites. So once you're done with everything and you're ready to go, your site information will show up here for the site that already has content linked to it. All you have to do is hit deploy, and what's going to happen is the system will put it in queue, and once it's up to build, it'll start building that site and deploy it to your server. It's really simple. If you decide that you don't want, like say for instance, you joined a piece of content and a site together that you decided you weren't, you were going to put the content with a different site than the one that you did, then all you have to do is hit reset here, and it'll break the relationship apart. It'll get divorced.
Yeah.
Spinner here is a tool where we just check spin tax. When we were talking about spin tax, you'll learn what that is if you don't know what it is already. Basically, we use it in content a lot of times, and you'll see like here I picked R. All it does is we're going to pick a random word that's in this group here to the, and that'll make a lot more sense when you put it in your content, because typically we use like a spin tax paragraph in a lot of our content, which is like an ending paragraph in the content. The ATM graphics creator, I can't really show this, but anybody that's familiar with the logo creator, it's actually built into the ATM now. And the logo creator was something that was created by Mark Sylvester from Laughing Bird Software. It's a great piece of software that allows you to create images just by dragging and dropping things, and that's built right into the ATM now. I worked hand in hand with one of their programmers, or with Mark's programmer, and we got that so that it works with the ATM now. So, and it also saves to S3. So whatever you make inside the graphics creator and you save it to S3, you'll be able to pull it right up in the graphics, right up in the editor to add to your content afterwards. The PLR content, we have a content library of 2.5 million pieces of content, over 2.5 million, but that will not be available until Monday, the 20th. What that's going to do is it has all kinds of content that you can just basically search. Instead of going out and finding content or paying for content to be written, we've got a bunch of content in there that you can use, and you'll be able to put that right into the site build. So another reason why, or another idea how we're making it so that you don't have to leave the web application to build a site. You can do it all from within here.
That's really cool.
Support. We have the different support links for tickets, etc. Video libraries. User information for the profile. That's just your information like your email address and all that stuff. List APIs. For example, you can have we've use something like Copyscape or Spin Rewriter, and Spin Rewriter is something that will automatically spin pieces of content for you. It's a service that's a subscription service. I forget how much it is costing a month. I think we usually paid for it for the year, but it's relatively cheap, and it will spin paragraphs and things like that for you. It will actually spin entire pieces of content for you if you wanted to, but a lot of people use it, so that's why we implemented it. We also use it a lot of times for like single paragraphs, things like that. Copyscape is, I'm just going to go to create an API because this is where you would add the information for that. So say if you wanted to add Copyscape, you have a Copyscape account and you want to add your information for the API in there. What Copyscape does is it will check your content to see how many copies of it are out there on the web. So a lot of times, there's a lot of people that, I got to be honest, I don't use Copyscape that much, but a lot of people like it because I reuse the content so much on my sites that I would end up seeing a bunch of my own sites in the Copyscape results. But some people want to make maybe a first piece of content that's like a seed piece of content that you may end up using on a bunch of different sites. And maybe that first piece of content, you want to make sure that it's really unique and it's not out there anywhere. Copyscape will be something easy for you to be able to verify that. And that's what it's used for. Add your server, list servers, that along with the Cloudflare. The Amazon link here is where you put your S3 information, your credentials for S3. I have a video that shows how to set up S3. Basically, if you have an Amazon account, you've already got access to Amazon's web services. S3 is just basically for storage or serving like static pages, things like that. But what we use it for is strictly for images, storing images, like I had mentioned earlier in the content. And the one thing about Amazon is it's super fast and it's super cheap. I mean, you can have thousands and thousands and thousands of images in there and it might cost you $2 a month. I think my Amazon bill for the images, and I probably have more images and more files than most people would ever dream of. And my Amazon bill cost me around $11 a month for the S3. So that just shows you how cheap it is, and it's great for the fact that it's super fast on, on getting the images to load, and it takes that work off of your server as well. Okay, you think of anything I missed in here, Bradley?
No, I mean, that's a pretty good run through for, the front end. Again, you guys see the functionality of it, and then it's just a matter of everything's integrated now pretty much, and there's still additional things that are going to be included or installed that Don's working on as well, but I mean, it's leaps, leaps and bounds easier than it has been in the past, and I think that's the important thing to highlight here, so.
Yeah, and the one thing that I said earlier, like the ATM sets up the server for you, sets up all the software on the server for you to host these sites. But one of the things that we're going to add is for it to also be able to, instead of you going out and following the video that I was talking about earlier, where you go out and set up your Amazon EC2 instance, which is basically setting up a little server. It only takes a few clicks of a button, etc. But we're going to make sure that the ATM actually does that for you later too, so that'll even be out of your hands. One of the things here too also as well is, I don't know if you can see that this is going to be really laggy probably for me because I'm also recording this webinar, but this little tool right here is basically, let's say you were having a problem inside the ATM or you found a bug or something. You see the plus, can you see that plus sign on here, Bradley?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
That's moving with my cursor. I can drag this and basically highlight this area. I could type in some information about what I saw there, maybe who I am, because sometimes it'll just show me an email address or something. Maybe type in your login information for the ATM. You could also type in some information here. You could draw on an area. I can't do it because it's lagging, but you could draw on an area and highlight an area or whatever and then click send. And it's a really great way for us to be able to see things that you might see that might be a bug or something out of the ordinary. Maybe you see something different in your browser. We test this with all kinds of different browsers. You're using Bootstrap, Twitter Bootstrap for a lot of the visual things you see here. And that typically works with all browsers, but you just never know. Also, this thing should be relatively mobile ready. So if you wanted to sit on your iPad and work on it, you could. And I think that's just about it for that part. Okay. I'm going to go back in here. So we've been inside the ATM. So yeah, we use this application. We have for many years. We test all the time. So we update it constantly because this is like the core thing of our business. I've been working on the ATM so much that I haven't been building sites like I used to, but now with this update out here and finally out of the way, I will be back to building tons and tons of sites again, thank God. But, we thank you for your trust and confidence when you're thinking about purchasing this. A lot of times you're going to, a picture's worth 1,000 words. We could run through everything, but some of the things that members say, you'll see here that are use the ATM. Brian has spent countless hours helping people through something called TeamViewer, where they can actually watch him on his computer. He can go on their computer and help them. He's done that for a bunch of people. So we're always trying to help people, trying to make sure they're making money. Like you'll see here, they're talking about great training and thanks to everybody. You'll see we have somebody here getting 5,642 unique visits in 4 days. Just all kinds of great feedback here. Everybody here, I'm just going through here. I mean, Kerry Duke, he's a guy right there. He's even helped people out plenty of times. He's talked about the fact that he basically even showed a check of $18,000 that he was made from a company right inside our Facebook group. So you have to remember, we got the Facebook group, we got the Skype group, we got a forum. All that stuff is there to help you. Then we've got the weekly live training, and then we've got the support ticket system. So it's almost impossible not to get help, especially from members that have been using this, because we have members that have been using this that are in there right now, have been using it for the past year or more. I can't even remember now.
Yeah.
And they are like well-schooled in using the ATM, and they've been foaming at the mouth to get a hold of this update. And you guys are seeing this webinar just as we had brought that update out. So,
so you guys are seeing it at first. Those of you that are just seeing this for the first time, you're seeing the updates. A lot of us that have been in for a while have gone through the evolution of the ATM, and each time it gets better. And this is going to be definitely beneficial for all of us going forward, because once again, it removes so many of the additional things that we had to do on our own, and removes that chance for error. So that's just going to make everything's a lot more streamlined now, and that's going to make a huge difference in the amount of the time that it takes to build, and just the quality of everything in general. So
now a lot of people have they have a team of VAs that they pay all the time. I mean, you could knock out 20 VAs with this.
Yeah.
You could basically kill off having 20 different VAs. Now, I'm not saying do that to get rid of your VAs, but you can also train your VAs to use the ATM so that they're building the sites for you. So the only thing that we say is, when it comes to the VAs, you have to train them. We won't train the VAs. But here's your team. You got Bradley here. We also have a support guy, Costas, and we also have Michael, which are two of the support guys that aren't shown on here. But Bradley's does all the training for everybody. I do all kinds of programming and updates and all the code stuff. And Brian handles all kinds of different business aspects as the CEO. So we're on our way up. We've got everything pretty much covered for everybody as far as trying to manage support and keeping everybody happy and keeping them learning and keeping them making money. What you're going to find out is the stuff that's in this ATM, like the content I said would be in there Monday, but we have over 2.5 million pieces of content to use, as you see fit. So you don't have to you don't have to worry about writing anything, paying a writer, or anything like that. If you do want to pay a writer and get some, get content made, that's perfectly fine too, because it doesn't matter whether you use this content or not. It's there for you to use if you want to. The graphics engine, which is the logo creator, it's only in the ATM. So, there is a desktop version of that that's sold separately, but the one that's integrated into the ATM only works with the ATM. So just so you understand that, you have to be logged into the ATM to be able to use it. It allows you to create all kinds of graphics. It has tons of templates in there, tons of different images, drag and drop simple. Backlinks indexer, we have a special version of backlinks indexer that's only for the ATM. It goes out and, like I said, it'll build backlinks for the sites itself on its own. And every new site that you put out, it builds backlinks to it for about 60 days just to solidify the rankings. What you see is what you get editor. That's the editor that you saw in there. It's actually CK editor. A lot of people might be familiar with it. It's just like the WordPress editor, Tiny MCE that you see inside of WordPress. If you're familiar with WordPress, when you add a post or anything, the editor that we put in there works the same exact way. API integration, Copyscape, Spin Rewriter, and we have a lot of other things that are going to be added to the API and integrated. Amazon S3 integration, store your graphics for future use with our integrated S3 feature using your Amazon account. We got the private Skype mastermind group. You know, ATM users, people that are using the ATM just like you are in there. People, you will not believe how much everyone inside this group helps each other. It's incredible. There's never, you can't ask a question. You're not going to get ridiculed for asking an amateur question, something you might think is amateurish. You're not going to get ridiculed for that. People have all been there, started at the beginning. They know where you're at. They have no problem with helping you. Private members only forum. People that join you also have access to a forum that you can go to. The private Facebook mastermind group, the Facebook group, you can get added to the Facebook group. The video library, which actually a lot of those videos are going to be redone today because a lot of the videos don't match up with the way the ATM works now. But we're going to be doing those rather quickly. We just finished this update, not just a matter of hours ago, finally getting this update deployed. And just have to finish up a few things, and then that's why it's going to be 4 o'clock when you can actually log in. Approximately 4 o'clock, you know, it might go over a little bit. And our ticket system's there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to be able to help you. When we finally go live, because I know a lot of people are going to wonder how much this costs, when we finally go live from the Lead Gadget site, you'll probably be looking at a significant price increase because we'll be selling the ATM access at probably somewhere around $497 a month. Actually, if you went to the Lead Gadget site, the unfinished sales page, you'd find out it was $497 on there right now, which will more likely be the lowest price available because we're going to be adding multiple access levels. But for right now, you're going to get in at the highest access level at $247 a month. Trust me, if you can't make over $247 a month using the ATM, there's something wrong. Ask for help because there's no way you should not be able to. You should be making way beyond that. As we add features or increase the price, you will never be charged more as long as you remain an active subscriber. So you never have to worry about that. Now, if you cancel and then come back, you're stuck at the price of whatever it is at that point. So, you know, join now, change everything for yourself. This is definitely a real tool. This isn't your typical tools that you see out in the internet marketing world for $7 or $17 or whatever that don't do anything for you. This actually works. You can build a business around that. And one of the largest SEO companies in Australia is actually using it as well. So that just gives you an idea. I know he doesn't, I'll say Darren, he doesn't really, I don't think likes to get acknowledged that much, but he's using this as well, and they've increased their income dramatically, as he stated in a testimonial as well. And lots of other people have done it, especially a lot of people doing things with AdSense sites and Amazon. There's got a lot of people that are working with that. But it's not just for that. Obviously, you can promote your own products. If you have a small business or something that's a local business, it's awesome for that. Not just a small business, medium-sized business, large business. It doesn't really matter. You can knock out you can cut your pay-per-click costs. If you're doing paid traffic right now to your website.
Uh-oh, we lost your audio, Dawn. Are you still there? We totally lost your audio. Dawn's still, Don's audio is still coming down while he's bringing that up. I see several questions, guys, that are coming through. We're going to answer some questions here in just a moment. We've been holding off on some of these so that we can address them because some of them are duplicate questions or questions that several people are asking. So just stand by for a moment and we will get to those as well. I don't know what happened, why we lost Don's audio, but go to webinar. Don't you love it? Let's see what happens here.
Can you hear me now?
Now we can.
Okay. No, you know what that is. It's not even so much the GoToWebinar. It's because I'm in a virtual machine. Guys, I'm always in Linux. I only came in Windows because this is a GoToWebinar and it's running in a virtual machine, so I can lose my audio sometimes. It's freaky.
Okay.
But, yeah, I was just saying, you know, you can join now. I'm telling you, it'll change everything for you. If you want to join right now, you go to join.theatm.us, and that's where you'll sign up. Now, we had some issues with PayPal's IPN reporting back to us, so if for some reason you don't get an email with your login information, don't worry. just open up a support ticket right here. You'll see the atm.us/support. Go in there, open up a support ticket. We'll have you fixed in a jiffy if it doesn't come to you. More than likely it will, but just to nip that in the bud right off the bat. You know, if for some reason the IPNs have been coming back from PayPal super slow for us the last couple of days. So.
Yep.
But
Okay.
now I guess we'll hit the questions.
Are you seeing the questions list, or do you want me to read them to you?
I'll pull up the questions actually.
I've got some here that I can direct to you at the moment if you'd like.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. So the first one is okay. Now this one's been reposted a couple times by Dave, so I think we need to address it. What are and some of the other people, other attendees have also asked similar questions, Don. So I'd like for you to clear this one up for them. What are the features of SerpShaker I guess I should say what are the features of the ATM that aren't available with SerpShaker, and is SerpShaker still needed if we're using ATM?
I get this question constantly. Now, a lot of people aren't going to know what SerpShaker is that are on this webinar, so I'll just tell you that it's a WordPress plugin that allows you to build sites, and I was also a co-author of that, co-creator of that with somebody named Andres Tobar. It's a great product, but the big differences between SerpShaker obviously is, well, SerpShaker is definitely not going to go out and set up your Cloudflare account for you. It's not going to go out and set up your hosting account for you. You definitely have to go out and install WordPress first, and then install the plugin, and then add all your short codes and your lists and all that stuff in there manually every time you create a site. The server that you're building the site on has to be able to handle building the site. If not, then you have to build it on your local machine and then transfer it to hosting, so it complicates a lot of things. So basically all your shortcodes and all your content and all your sites, all your information is stored inside of the ATM. It automatically sets up those Cloudflare accounts for you, sets up the records in Cloudflare, sets up the hosting server for you, has the different API features that we're adding in there all the time, has a content library that's going to be there available for you.
The logo creator.
The logo creator's in there, the backlink indexer plugin. I think there was a deal on that, but you don't have to actually pay for the backlink indexer version that's in here. That's not saying don't go. If you have other sites out there, you might want a backlink indexer account anyway, but the backlink indexer plugin that we have in here, it does a slower number of links just because the ATM sites don't need a ton of links. They get indexed anyway, especially using a promote feature that we have inside the ATM. But that's a lot of it right there. It automatically builds the site for you. I mean, it takes about 15 minutes to build a site if you're setting the site up correctly.
Right. So essentially the major difference is one is a plugin, which it's a good plugin and it works wonders. It's great. But the ATM is an entire site builder. And the speed with which you can build the sites out, and the size, and it handles everything and transfers it to the hosting, deploys it, and everything is just it's incredibly it's incredible how fast you can deploy sites using it. So
right, it's just it's probably ATM is a great plugin if you just have to realize that you have to install WordPress, you have to install your lists every time, you have to install plugins that you want, everything else. Most of the common plugins are already in the WordPress build when the ATM puts them out. So it just does everything much faster, and it keeps you in the same control panel. And like I said, it sets up your Cloudflare, sets up your hosting, does all kinds of things. So that you can't do with like a WordPress plugin.
Yeah.
You have to have an application.
We got... So, guys, those of you that keep reposting your questions, please stop, because we're getting to them, all right? And it's just we're going to get through the questions, so just post it one time is all you need to do, all right? But anyways, the next question, Dawn, would be, this is from Greg. He says, is it still going to be possible to deploy to a dedicated server that already has CentOS and WHM? And
well, right now what we're doing is we're gonna leave the old version of the ATM up for right now, but basically like we had said, we're gonna phase cPanel out. We'd already talked about this, so it's doubtful that you'll see this new version deployed to cPanel. It basically needs a straight up Ubuntu install on the server, just plain Jane Ubuntu, and then the ATM sets everything up for it.
Well, I think what Greg is asking specifically, because there was a follow-up to that where he says, I'd like to fill my current server before starting a fresh Ubuntu install. So I'm assuming, since you said you're going to leave the old version of the ATM up for a little while, that would give him that opportunity to do so.
Yeah, he'd still be able to build with the old one, but he wouldn't have the features of the new ATM's update.
Okay. Okay. One of the questions was, can you use, and I answered this one, can you use an existing Cloudflare account? I said yes.
Right.
Ganti had a question about, can you use different Cloudflare accounts with different Amazon EC2 accounts? And at the current moment, Dawn, correct me if I'm wrong, but we only have the ability for one, but you're going to be coding in the ability to add multiple Cloudflare accounts. Is that correct?
Well, I could add Cloudflare. I can set it up so that people can have multiple Cloudflare accounts. The only thing is I probably would limit it to at the most a few,
Okay.
just because we have a partnership with Cloudflare, and they obviously don't want to see the same user using 15 different accounts from our partner program version of Cloudflare. So we don't want to make Cloudflare mad at us. We want to keep them working with us. So
Nice.
they can basically, I'll probably set it up so that you can have like 3 different Cloudflare accounts, but technically it doesn't matter. One Cloudflare account is enough, but that's up to you.
Right. Okay, let's see. One of the other questions, I'm trying to go through these guys, so just one moment. Okay, so here's a good one from Ganti. He says, I know that building site after site is the motto or the mantra, and never worry about the backup, but still, have you made any provisions for us to have a backup of the site as we add plugins and change the theme in case the site crashes and or the site is infected? We may want to be able to restore a backup. Is that possible?
I'm actually going to try to build in a backup system in this, but it'll probably be a few weeks.
Okay.
But what that backup system would do would be basically back up your database for you and your files into a zip file that you would have to download. So you'd still have to do it like one at a time if you wanted to back it up like that.
Okay. And you could actually probably integrate that with the S3 account, couldn't you? Yeah,
probably.
So you could just back it up and store the file, the backup, right in the S3. I mean,
yeah, technically, that's a pretty good idea, Ganti, and it only crossed my mind for a second because most of the people that are in this know how many hours I've been spending on this. But that's a good idea. I have an idea right now that I think I probably will be able to deploy something that will back up your sites for you now that I think about it. So we'll look into that. Don't worry. We'll figure out something.
All right, another one is from Peter. Says, is Amazon server able to handle any kind of heavy load without suspending my account or making my sites inaccessible with the 522 Cloudflare error?
Well, for one thing, as far as Amazon goes, it's unlikely that they're going to suspend your account for the server getting overused.
Because it's scalable.
It's scalable for one thing, and another thing is the fact that you're basically isolated, so it's not like if your server is getting your instance is getting beat to death, then you're not really going to affect anybody else because they have a cutoff. They're going to have a cutoff there to where it's not that it'll suspend your account or anything like you see in HostGator or anything. It's just that the server would actually respond slower. But that's with anything. It doesn't matter where you put massive sites like this. WordPress is a pig. So
yeah.
When you start getting, the biggest problem I saw was there were so many people putting in making like 1 million tags, like literally over 1 million tags were going into a site. Tags and categories. Tags and categories. Tags and categories are actually the things that slow down WordPress the most. So, you should only put like 12, 15 tags at the most inside of a WordPress build.
At the most.
Yeah, at the most. And then, as far as categories, you should try to limit those, like as far as we do a lot of times we're state, so you'll have 50 categories, and I wouldn't go over that.
Yeah. Yeah, and keep in mind that I think, Peter, the question was probably geared towards, because he said suspending your account. You're thinking of like shared hosting, or where if you've got these big sites that are requiring a lot of bandwidth or whatever, then that can get, they can terminate your account or suspend your account because of you using resources, because you're on a shared account, so you're hogging other people's resources. But like Don is just saying, with an EC2 and an EC2 instance, you really are isolated. It's just your own. You might slow down your loads, but at that point it's just, okay, you know what? Create another instance and start moving, building sites on a new instance, so
Right,
that you're not overloading it.
What you'll see in the videos is basically looking at the dashboard, and then you'll be able to see how much CPU usage is being used on this server, how much memory is being used. If I'm hitting close to the max on this, it's time to put up another instance and quit building on that one.
Yep.
Leave that one up to serve the sites that are on it, build and start up another instance. Go ahead.
Ed has a question about, what do we do with our current sites?
Current sites.
I'm assuming if you've already got sites deployed on your own, if you have hosting somewhere that, whether it's Brain Matter or something else, I'm assuming you keep those up. Is that correct? Where are we moving those to?
I believe we're going to have Costas move those. They're going to be up for a little while because Costas is going to help everybody move those. So.
Okay. Let's see. Layla says, okay, can I take any existing site, mine or an offline biz, and then upload it to the ATM and create an ATM page for them and then link it to your badass machine?
Well, you have to say that one for me again.
I can answer that, but her question is, she says, can I take any existing site, mine or an offline business, and then upload it to the ATM and create an ATM page for them and then link it to your badass machine to rank in the offline biz? Well, in the beginning part of the presentation, or at least at some point during the presentation today, we talked about the WP overlayer, and you don't necessarily need to upload, or I wouldn't upload an existing site to the ATM or to that an EC2 instance. What you do is just create a new traffic driving website and overlay using the plugin, the overlayer plugin. You can overlay pages or the homepage or whatever from your offline biz site to right on top of those pages. So you're still driving traffic to that site using the ATM sites, if that makes sense. Don, maybe you can explain it better than I just did.
I mean, a lot of times what we did for different companies was that we would build the traffic funnels like I was talking about before, which is just build a bunch of ATM sites around a specific vertical, and then we'd use that overlay and we'd make a landing page somewhere else that was specific to, converting that. I wouldn't point it to the user site because it's not a great idea to point the sites with that many pages, etc., to those customer sites, but you can use the overlayer to display that landing page on all the different ATM sites and take people to the customer site or wherever from there.
That's right. You could have, like the call to action or the contact request form or whatever right on that landing page. And then obviously that landing page could even link through to the actual business site if you wanted to do that as well. You could make it like a two-step. But like what he's saying, it's good to set up like a landing page similarly to what you would set up for if you were driving a paid traffic campaign, because those pages are set up for conversion. They're designed to convert whatever the action is that you're seeking, you desire, whether that's a phone call or to submit a contact form or to capture an email for an opt-in or something like that. Okay. So you'll be able to do all of that and just set up the conversion pages and overlay them on top of those. All right, so Gordon has a question. When the ATM comes back online, is it the same login details as before?
Yeah, same login details. You'll have all your content in there too from the other ATMs.
It'd just be a different login URL, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's the ATM.us.
The ATM.us, yeah, that's it. Will there be any training on setting up Amazon servers, and can we still use Brain Matter hosting until then?
Don't put any more sites on the Brain Matter hosting accounts. You're going to be using your own hosting for this. So there will be a video that shows you how to do that when we open this up around. Like I said, it'll probably be about 4. It'll probably be maybe closer to 5 just because of the simple fact that we're on the webinar. I actually expected to be off the webinar before this, and I have quite a few things to do. So,
Well, we only got a few more questions, so let's run through them and let's go ahead and jump off, guys, so that we can get Dawn back to work. All right. Let's see. The next one is, when will we be able to build on the EC2 instances and not brain matter? So, like, is that going to be available today? Is that what you're saying?
Yep.
Okay, that'll be available today. That should answer your question, Mark. Let's see. Ed asks, when will we be able to use multiple Cloudflare accounts? You really don't need them, but when do you think that would be ready to be able to add?
I could probably turn that on when we make it live. I'll set it to where it's like 3.
Okay, there you go. Let's see. Layla says, aside from the monthly ATM fee, what other add-on or recurring fees might be needed? Copyscape, for instance. Those are all optional, Layla.
Yeah, you don't need them. You don't even need Spin Rewriter technically. I mean, you don't need any of that. It's just we put it in there because so many people in internet marketing like it and use them. So we put them in there as add-ons so that people can use them if they want. As far as your other expenses besides the ATM, you're looking at your EC2 instances,
And domains.
or your VPS servers, whichever, and then your domains. So.
Yep. Kevin.
Oh God, no, Kevin, what's he saying?
Should I ask it? I'm not going to, Kevin. That's all.
I know I seen something come through where I used his name in a video. He said he had it trademarked as Kevin Big Happy Smith name.
Yeah.
So this is one of the guys Kevin Smith. He's one of the guys that uses the ATM. You guys will get to know him real well.
Yeah, he's our class clown, and he's awesome. He's awesome. All right, Dwayne says he's in. He asks, I'm assuming login details are sent out later. So, Dwayne.
If you didn't get the login details, then it's probably because of the problem that we're having right now with PayPal's IPN. So if he didn't get those, trust me, we'll get those. Do me a favor, though. Can you see down at the bottom of the screen, Bradley?
Yes. Yeah, I can
go
push
to that.
in.
Go to that URL and open up a support ticket just so I have it. And I'll make sure it's taken care of, by the time we turn this back on for you, turn the update on.
All right, I'm going to grab the, the atm.us/support, guys. I'm going to put that in chat real quick, just 1 second. The atm.us/support. If you have an issue with that, just go there. All right, so the next question was, so we no longer need Brain Matter hosting, is that what you're saying?
Right. You're going to be just using the ATM.
Okay. Are there going to be different pricing levels for having access to different tools, like Brian mentioned?
It's a possibility. Right now, we're probably looking. What we're looking at right now is we're going to eventually have different levels, or we'll be like right now. The price at what it is right now will limit you to 20 sites per day that you can build. Later on, we're going to end up probably having some different levels, but a lot of those levels, it may actually be more expensive. I mean, we're basically going for a lot of the small businesses to join us, but right now we're just giving everybody a chance.
Yeah. Okay. One of the next one is, Mark says, are there going to be, oh no, I'm sorry, I just asked that one. Paula says, do I have to install WordPress? No, that's what the ATM does for you.
Yeah.
Okay. So
it puts the site already built.
Yep, the site. Well, you build the content out inside the ATM, and then when you click the deploy button, it goes out and builds the site, and then deploys it or installs it on your hosting to where once it's done and you get the notification that it's done, then you just go log in and do the cleanup process, which just takes a few minutes, like setting permalinks and that sort of thing. So, the site will be built and live after it deploys. Okay. So you don't have to do that. Then you can go in and make whatever changes you want to, like a typical WordPress site. Okay.
Yeah, it's a regular WordPress site once it's done. So.
Yeah, just a really big one.
Yeah, a really big one. That's, that this, works the way that, the ATM builds them the way that we've been successfully making money with it. So.
Yeah. Here's one that I think probably should be asked, guys, and we're going to run through just a couple more questions and then wrap it up. But Mark says, if the ATM account is canceled, dumb idea, will that affect the EC2 sites? No, once the sites are built, they're built, right?
Yeah, the EC2 sites are in your account. So once you've built sites with the ATM, they're yours. They're done. They're on your hosting. You own them.
Yeah. Okay, Greg Lucas asks, how many websites can be hosted within one Cloudflare account? Well, Cloudflare doesn't host sites. Okay, Cloudflare is just a DNS thing. So it's, as far as I know, it's unlimited how many domains you can have in Cloudflare. There may be a cap to it, but I haven't hit it yet, and I've got probably well over 100 domains in a Cloudflare account, or at least dozens and dozens. I might not be over 100.
Yeah,
So.
got more than that. We got accounts, probably 500 domains in them. So
Yeah, there you go.
There's really no limit to how many domains you can have in it. So
yeah, it's just domain. It's just for DNS settings. It has nothing to do with hosting actually. So, let's see. Can we just delete cPanel on Gray Matter and then rebuild them using the Amazon server? Kevin asked that, and yeah, you can do that, right? I mean, if you don't want to wait for the site to be moved, you can just delete it and rebuild it, right?
I'd actually recommend that.
Yeah, yeah, because it's easier on the support
Well,
staff.
to be honest, the hosting part is so different from cPanel now that it may take a while. So I would actually suggest that most people just did that. I mean, it really doesn't. Once you got, that's one of the benefits of the ATM. All the information's still in there, so it takes like nothing to build the site again.
Yeah. Okay. Greg Sinclair asks, can we choose which EC2 region to set up our instance in?
Yeah, that doesn't matter. It's up to you.
Okay.
I stick everything in the West, or on the East Coast. I mean, I stick everything in, I think it's 1A it's called.
Okay.
East Coast 1A, but obviously you can do it whatever you want.
Okay, Michael says, how many national build sites with limited plugins can be deployed on one EC2 instance?
Depends on the size of the EC2 instance. The video, I'm probably going to have to handle that in the videos that you guys will see, just because I want to show you how to use things like the EC2 calculator, and that'll actually give you an idea of how much an EC2 instance costs that you're going to deploy. But I mean, I think if you actually average it out, you got to remember, like I said, these sites are huge, so it probably costs anywhere from, depending on the size of the site, the types of plugins in there, you could probably be looking at, if you were breaking it down to a per site, you're probably looking at anywhere from like 75 cents to $2.25 per site.
Okay.
So
per month.
If you were going to break it down, right?
Okay. Okay. Let's see. The next one, Ganti, your question about overlay versus zero bounce plugin, that's something that we'll answer on a Q&A webinar. That's not really, we'll answer that, Ganti, I promise you, okay? Barry asks, with the previous version and sites hosted on Brain Matter, you guys handled all the security. Will we now have to harden our sites?
Well, when it actually goes out and deploy, it does set up the IP tables, which is the firewall and everything on there, but in this case, you may want to now end up using things like WordFence, etc. on your sites again.
Yeah. Paula, no, they're not the same. She knows what question she asked. They're not the same. The new applications at the atm.us, it's not the same as what the old login URL is. Okay. We've answered this several times, I believe, but should we cancel? Michael was asking, should we cancel our current Brain Matter hosting?
If you just have regular hosting there, then it depends on whether you want to host regular sites there or not. But the hosting itself, if you're doing the ATM and the hosting together, then obviously you're going to be doing the hosting yourself. But you got to remember that the hosting price that you got there was actually lower than what the price is for the ATM. So
yeah,
if you're paying right now, you're paying lower price than that, then you're going to keep it.
You're right. Okay, got it. Okay, are there going to be? Let's see. He already asked that. Let's see. Hold on a minute, guys. These questions are still rolling in, and we're about to wrap it up because I've got another appointment. So once we identify, wait a minute. Let's see. Sorry, guys. My mouse jumps. So just give me 1 second. Does Brian have the winning lotto numbers for today?
I don't know. I don't know if Brian's still on here or not. I know his mic wasn't working, so.
Yeah. Ganti asks, why the hell do we need Copyscape knowing that duplicate content is a big myth? Ganti, it's just for those people that are worried about it and they want to verify.
Ganti, there are people that are very anal about it. I don't use it, don't care about it.
Okay, Layla says she didn't get login details either. Okay, Layla, just contact support. We'll take care of it. Let's see. Any info on the theme, a different theme that is default for the ATM? Let's see. Is it, the theme, it's the same theme right now, Don. Nothing's changed with that, right?
Yeah, it's still using it. It uses a 2012 theme because the 2012 theme still shows as mobile ready with Google, so we just use that. But if you want to change the theme after you deploy the site, you can change it to whatever you want.
Yeah. Okay, somebody's asking, is there a 30-day trial period?
No.
No.
No refunds on the ATM.
Okay, so get in and check it out. We'll be able to use the PWIC script, that auto adds domains in the PWIC.
Yeah, you could still use that, but right now the script section, I actually don't have it in the new ATM because of the simple fact that a lot of people were changing their themes and stuff, so once you did that, it didn't work anymore.
Yeah.
And a lot of people didn't realize that, so it's easier if you just go after you log into the site. After you deploy the site, just log in there and paste it right into the footer of your theme.
Yeah.
The PyWix script, and then just save it.
Yeah, and you can do that either in the theme file or add like a plugin like header and footer.
Yeah, I'm actually going to add a header and footer addition to the helper plugin that gets installed with the blogs, but I don't have that in there yet. So
yeah, that would be nice. All right, guys, last couple questions. Let's see. One is WP is typically very hacker vulnerable. What security features do you implement to prevent sites from being hacked?
Well, typically when I'm doing it outside of our servers, we do a lot of things at the server level, but the stuff is extremely complicated. So the best things that you can do is using something like WordFence. Don't use admin for your login, for your username, things like that. There's so many videos and articles out there on securing WordPress that you can actually take a look at those. But WordFence is probably one of the best ones out there as far as that goes. The only reason that we weren't allowing it on our own servers is because we were hosting thousands of sites, and the things that we were doing at the server level kind of defeated the purpose of having WordFence. But since you're going to be hosting them yourself, the simplest way is to use something like WordFence, etc.
Right. All right. Well, guys, I have to go. So unless, Don, you want to stay on and answer additional questions, I've got to bounce, man. So
I actually have to bounce, too, because I have to get this opened up for everybody.
Very good. I think that's important then. So, guys, everybody, glad you made it out. The replay will be available shortly. It's going to have to be re-rendered since we're using GoToWebinar. So we'll try to get that up sometime soon. And any closing words?
No, other than if you have any more questions, you need anything answered, you can send them into our support ticket system. The support ticket system will be rather slow getting answered today just because of everything going on with the update, but we will get to you.
Very good. Well, thanks, everybody, for being here. We'll see you inside.
All right, thanks, guys.